When they met for the first time, my father Leib took one look at my mother Golda and promptly fell in love. And no wonder. Golda was a beautiful young girl with a sweet face, perfect features, big brown eyes, brown hair, and a peach-like complexion. Leib was an aggressive, impatient young man who didn't believe in the customary matchmaking. He decided on the spot that Golda was the girl he would marry. Since he was on a business trip from Lenchna, where he lived, to Hrubieszów, where Golda lived, he couldn't stay long that first time. But as soon as he returned home, he began writing her love letters every day. Unfortunately, he could write only in Yiddish, and not very well at that. His youngest brother, Moshe, remembered Leib sitting for hours, writing letter after letter, tearing each one up and starting again. Moshe, a mischievous and inquisitive boy of 6, would later collect the torn bits, and with the help of his older brother Heinach, try to decipher the language of their brother's order, but never succeeded. It took a couple of years, but at last Golda succumbed to Leib's persistent courtship. They were married in 1908, when both were 26. Golda's one condition was that they make their home in Hrubieszów, to which Leib agreed. Leib's father Yankel and his mother Sarah were moneylenders and dealers in grain. They also held an exclusive license from the Russian government to sell salt in Lenchna. Yankel and Sarah were unhappy with Leib's decision to move to Hrubieszów, which was 50 miles away. But they knew that once he had made up his mind, no amount of persuasion would change it. Of their 7 children, Usher, the eldest, Leib's younger brothers, Butcher, Heinach, and Moshe, and the younger sisters Golda and Rivka, it was Leib who showed the greatest promise as a businessman. The Strum family had been in Hrubieszów for many generations. Golda, her parents Mordechai Hirsch and Sarah, and her brother Abraham, nicknamed Abush, were all born in Hrubieszów, and the family had lived there from as far back as anyone could remember. At the turn of the century, Hrubieszów was a sleepy town, built around a central square where the important stores and the best apartments were located. The rest of the town, consisting mostly of small 1- and 2-story houses and shops, fanned out from the square. Only a few streets were paved, and most of those were of cobblestone, over which horse-drawn carriages clippity-clopped. On rainy days in the spring and fall, the mud in the unpaved streets was so deep that wagons often got stuck and had to be pulled out. Jews have been living in Hrubieszów since the Middle Ages, the first Jews having arrived there not long after the village was granted the status of a town by the King of Poland in 1400. The first historical reference to a, quote, Jewish settlement, unquote, in Hrubieszów dates back to 1444. Mention is made of a Hrubieszów Jew, Eliezer, who in 1445 made a trip to Kiev to obtain merchandise from the east. He and the other Jews in Poland were part of a Jewish migration from Western Europe to the east, which began in the 11th century and continued for hundreds of years under the pressure of massacres by the Crusaders and of many other religious persecutions. Polish Jews and Gentiles alike suffered the depredations of successive waves of invaders: Tartars, Cossacks, Turks. But the Jews had always lived almost totally separated from the Gentile population, as was the case in most of the towns and villages of Poland and Russia.